So, good morning, friends. Today we are going to discuss about governing of Pelton turbine. So, I have written the various components of this arrangement. So, firstly, this is a centrifugal governor, relay valve, servometer, oil sump, oil pump, and piping system. So these are the components very essential for operating the governor of a Pelton turbine. So basically, governing is defined as the process of controlling the quantity of water that is entering the turbine. So by controlling the quantity of water, we can control the speed of the turbine, and by controlling the speed of the turbine, we can control the speed of the generator, and finally, by controlling the speed of the generator, we can protect the life of the generator. So unless we control the quantity of water, we cannot control the speed of the turbine. And unless we control the speed of the turbine, we cannot control the speed of the generator. And unless we control the speed of the generator, we cannot protect the life of the generator. So for protecting the life of the generator, we have to control the speed of the generator. For controlling the speed of the generator, we have to control the speed of the turbine. And for controlling the speed of the turbine, we have to control the quantity of water that is entering the turbine. So this is called as governing of a turbine. So therefore, it is defined as a process of controlling the quantity of water that is entering the turbine. So now this is the diagram, used for indicating the governor used for operating the Pelton turbine. So here a centrifugal governor is used for controlling the quantity of water. So we can see the centrifugal governor on the top of the diagram, left hand side top of the diagram. So this governor, it is looking in the form of a pendulum. So this will be during the operation of this governor. It will be continuously rotating in a given direction. So the governor is mounted on the shaft of the governor, and finally the shaft of the governor is connected to the shaft of the turbine. So this way, governor is used for controlling the speed of the turbine, and also basically for controlling the quantity of water that is entering the turbine. And secondly, we can see the arrangement of a lever that's called as a main lever. and the left hand of the lever is fitted to the governor, and the right end of the lever is coming in contact with the piston that is arranged inside a relay valve. So basically, this lever is used for operating the piston that is arranged inside the relay valve in up and down directions. So, friends, this is the main, arrangement of this lever used for connecting the governor and the piston that is arranged inside the control valve. And next component is called as a relay valve, also it is referred as a control valve. So we can see the arrangement of a vertical cylinder. So this is called as a relay valve or a control valve, and a piston is arranged inside this cylinder, this vertical cylinder. It will be moving in upward and downward directions. And as informed earlier, this piston is connected to the lever that is attached to the governor. So this is the arrangement of the vertical cylinder, which is called as a relay valve, or also it is referred to as a control valve. Now, as the name itself implies, this relay valve is used for supplying high pressure oil into the servo motor. So, for moving the piston of the servo motor in forward direction, it will be supplying, the relay valve will be supplying high pressure oil from the left hand side of the servo motor for moving the piston in forward direction. And similarly, the relay valve will be also supplying the high pressure oil from the right hand side of the servo motor for moving the piston in reverse direction. So it will be depending upon the requirements, it will be supplying high pressure oil either from the left hand side of the servo motor or from the right hand side of the servo motor. So this way it is used for operating the piston of the servo motor in forward and backward directions. That means as a whole, it is controlling the action of the servo motor or the piston of the servo motor. So it's called as a control valve. So it is supplying high pressure oil into the servo motor. So therefore, it can be also called as a relay valve. And we can see a horizontal cylinder is placed in this arrangement. So as informed just now, this is called as a servo motor or a relay cylinder. So two cylinders are essential for operating the governor. So one cylinder placed in vertical position, that is called as a relay valve or control valve. And finally, another cylinder placed in horizontal position, that is called as a servometer. Also, it is referred to as a relay cylinder. So pistons are arranged in both the cylinders. So the piston arranged in the first cylinder will be moving in upward and downward directions naturally. And similarly, the piston arranged in the horizontal cylinder, the piston arranged inside the servometer will be moving in forward and backward directions. And finally, the piston of the servometer is fitted to a piston rod. You can see the arrangement of the piston rod, and the piston rod of the servometer. This is finally connected to the sphere that is arranged inside the nozzle. So this is the arrangement of governing system. So therefore, when the piston of the servometer moves in forward direction, naturally the sphere will be also moving in forward direction. So it will be sending less quantity of water into the turbine. And similarly, when the piston of the servometer moves in reverse direction, the sphere will be also moving in reverse direction. Naturally, the sphere will be also moving in reverse direction. So therefore, more quantity of water will be entering the turbine. So this way it is used, this arrangement, this wonderful arrangement is used for automatically for controlling the quantity of water that is entering the turbine. So when the load on the turbine decreases, the sphere will be moving in forward direction. So less quantity of water will be entering the turbine, and therefore the speed of the turbine will be falling back to the normal value. And similarly, when the load on the turbine increases, the sphere will be moving in reverse direction, and it will be supplying more quantity of water into the turbine. So therefore, the speed of the turbine will be raising back, or it will be brought back to the normal value. So friends, the entire operation will be taking place automatically, and these are the major components of the governing arrangement. So one governor is arranged on the top of the arrangement. Apart from the governor, we have to use two cylinders. The vertical cylinder referred to as relay valve or control valve. The horizontal cylinder, that is referred to as a servo main. And finally, we can see the arrangement of oil reservoir, that is called as oil sump. So high pressure oil is very essential for operating the piston that is arranged inside the servo. So therefore, this oil is stored in this reservoir, referred to as oil sump, so that it can be used for operating the piston that is arranged inside the servo. So, as a whole, this reservoir can be used for supplying oil into the servo motor and also for receiving the oil that is coming out of the servo motor. So it's like a closed, circuit system. So during the operation of the governor, so oil will be entering from one side of the servo motor and it will be leaving from another side of the servo. So therefore, this reservoir is ultimately used for sending oil into the servo motor and also for receiving the entire quantity of oil coming back from the servo motor. So this is the main purpose of this reservoir, referred to as oil sump. Also, it is called as oil reservoir. And finally, we can see the arrangement of a hydraulic pump, an oil pump. So, as the name itself implies, this oil pump will be raising the pressure energy of the liquid. It will be taking a liquid from the reservoir. It will be increasing the pressure energy of the liquid. And finally, it will be sending high pressure liquid into the servo motor. So this is, called as a hydraulic pump. It's handling oil. So therefore, it is also referred to as a oil. Now, this high pressure oil is very, very essential for operating the piston of the servo motor. So therefore, this oil pump is used for increasing the pressure energy of oil and finally used for sending high pressure oil into the servo motor for operating the piston that is arranged inside the servo motor. So friends, this is the main purpose of, apart from the vital components, namely governor, vertical cylinder, servo motor. So we have to make arrangements for oil reservoir and a hydraulic pump. So therefore, all these items, they are put together, are referred to as components of the governing arrangement. And finally, uh, conveying of oil is very, very important. So therefore, several pipelines are shown in the figure. We arranged for operating the governor, also mainly for conveying oil from one place to another place. So we have to make arrangements for conveying oil from the reservoir into the control valve. We have to make arrangements for conveying oil from the control valve into the servo motor. We have to make arrangements for conveying oil from the servo motor into the control valve. And finally, we have to also make arrangements for conveying oil from the control valve into the oil reservoir. So several pipelines are fitted for doing this activities. So all these pipelines put together, it is referred to as a piping system. So uh, this we can see the pipeline. So one pipeline fitted to the bottom of the hydraulic pump for conveying oil from the reservoir into the hydraulic pump. That's called as a suction pipe. And one more pipeline fitted on the top of the hydraulic pump for conveying high pressure oil from the hydraulic pump into the control valve. And similarly, we can see two pipelines fitted in between vertical cylinder and horizontal cylinder. That means when the relay valve will be sending oil from one side of the servometer and it will be receiving oil from another side of the servometer. That means when the first piston is moving in downward direction, it will be sending oil from the left hand side of the servometer, and at the same time it will be receiving oil from the right hand side of the servometer. So this is used for moving the horizontal piston of the servometer in forward direction. And similarly, when the first piston is moving in upward direction, it will be sending oil from the right hand side of the servometer and it will be receiving oil coming out from the left hand side of the servometer. So that means if oil is entering from one side of the servometer, it will be leaving from another side of the servometer. So therefore, the first cylinder will be supplying oil from one side of the servometer and it will be receiving oil from another side of the servometer. So therefore, two pipelines are very essential for connecting both the ends of both the cylinders. That means the bottom end of the first cylinder is fitted to the left side of the second cylinder, and the top end of the first cylinder is fitted to the right end of the second cylinder. So two pipelines are used, for connecting these two cylinders. So one pipeline is supplying oil into the servometer. Another pipeline will be receiving oil from the another side that is coming out of the servometer. So this is the beautiful arrangement made for conveying high pressure oil from the first cylinder into the second cylinder and also from the second cylinder into the first cylinder. And finally, we can see two pipelines fitted on the left hand side of the first cylinder. So the one pipe is fitted to the top end of the cylinder and Another pipe is fitted to the bottom end of the chimney. So both these pipelines are used for discharging oil that is coming out of the control valve, that is coming out of the first cylinder onto this reservoir. So these are the, so totally 6 pipelines are used in this arrangement. So 2 pipelines for conveying the oil from the reservoir into the first cylinder, 2 pipelines for conveying and receiving oil from the first cylinder into the second cylinder, and last 2 pipelines for conveying oil from the first cylinder into the oil reservoir. So as a whole, so these are the various components of the governing arrangement. So friends, we have to use a centrifugal governor, we have to install a main lever, we have to install a vertical cylinder, we have to install a servometer, installation of oil reservoir, installation of a hydraulic pump, and also installation of pipelines for conveying oil from one place to another place. So this is the arrangement of a governor that is used for operating the Pelton turbine. Now, coming to the working of this system, when the load on the turbine decreases, the speed of the turbine increases. So therefore, the governor will be rotating at a high speed. Because of this, the shaft of the governor will be moving in upward direction, and the main lever will be moving in clockwise direction. So therefore, the piston of the first cylinder begins to move in downward direction, and while moving in downward direction, it will be raising the pressure energy of oil, and it will be sending high pressure oil from the left hand side of the servometer. So therefore, the piston of the servometer begins to move in forward direction. So therefore, the sphere will be also moving in forward direction, and therefore less quantity of water will be entering the turbine, and as a result, the speed of the turbine will be falling back to the normal value. So entire arrangement is taking place, automatically with the help of this wonderful arrangement. And finally, when the piston of the servometer is moving in forward direction, the oil that is present on the right hand side of the piston will be leaving the servometer, and it will be entering from the top of the first cylinder, and through the top pipeline, the this quantity of oil which is entering the first cylinder will be going back into the oil reservoir. So this is the wonderful arrangement here made for controlling the quantity of water that is or for controlling the operation of the Pelton turbine. And similarly, when the load on the turbine increases, the entire operation will be taking place in reverse direction. So therefore, the sphere will be moving moving in reverse direction. So more quantity of water will be entering the turbine, and again the speed of the turbine will be increased back to the normal value. So friends, this entire operation will be taking place automatically according to the load acting on the turbine. So when the load on the turbine increases, the governor will be automatically, the governor will be moving the sphere in reverse direction for sending more quantity of water. When the load on the turbine decreases, automatically the governor will be moving the sphere in forward direction for supplying less quantity of water. So, controlling the quantity of water according to the load acting on the turbine. So, that is referred to as governor. So, that is referred to as a governing. And this arrangement is very essential for doing this operation. So, therefore, it is called as a governor. So, here, centrifugal, we have several types of governors, but this centrifugal governor is a very popular item. So, used not only for operating the sphere of the Pelton turbine, but also it is used for operating the uh, guide blades of Francis and Kaplan. So, the governor is one and the same, that's called a centrifugal governor. So used for controlling used for moving used for operating the sphere that is arranged inside the nozzle of the Pelton turbine. And similarly, the same governor is used for operating the guide blades of Francis and Kaplan turbines. That means when the piston of the servometer moves in forward direction, all the guide blades will be coming to closed position. So lesser quantity of water will be entering the turbine. Similarly, when the servometer moves in a reverse direction, all the blades will be coming to open position, and therefore more quantity of water will be entering the turbine. So, in the case of Pelton turbine, the servometer is used for opening and closing the area of the nozzle, or it's used for moving the sphere in forward and backward directions. And in the case of Francis and the Kaplan turbines, the same servometer, the same arrangement, the same servometer is used for opening and closing the blades of guide wheel mechanism. So this is the arrangement of the governor. And friends, before closing the session, let us make a quick review of the things which we have seen in this session. So definition of governing is given in this slide. It's a process of controlling the quantity of water entering the turbine according to the load acting on the turbine. So when the load on the turbine increases, the governor will be supplying more quantity of water. When the load on the turbine decreases, automatically the governor will be sending less quantity of water into the turbine. So we have talked about the centrifugal governor. So that is mounted on the shaft of the governor. The shaft of the governor is fitted to the shaft of the turbine by means of a suitable mechanism. So we have seen all these arrangements. And finally, the extension of the shaft that is called as a sleeve. The sleeve of the governor is fitted to a lever. Ultimately, that is used for moving the piston of the first cylinder in vertical direction. That means when the lever moves in clockwise direction for moving the piston in downward direction, and it will be moving in anti-clockwise direction for moving the piston in upward direction. So the next thing is relay valve. It's a vertical cylinder. The first cylinder held in vertical position for supplying high pressure oil into the servometer. So obviously it's controlling the action of the servometer. That's why it is called as a control valve. And as informed earlier, it will be sending oil from one side of the servometer, and at the same time, simultaneously, it will be receiving oil from another side of the servometer. So that means if it is sending oil from the left hand side of the servometer, it will be receiving oil from the right hand side of the servometer. And if it is sending oil from the right hand side of the servometer, it will be receiving oil from the left hand side of the servometer. So the first operation used for moving the piston, servometer piston in forward direction, and second operation used for moving the servometer piston in reverse direction. Yes, this is called as a servometer. The second cylinder placed in horizontal position for operating the sphere that is arranged inside the nozzle. So the piston of the servometer is fitted to a piston rod, and ultimately the piston rod is fitted to the sphere that is arranged inside the nozzle. So obviously it is used for moving the sphere in to and fro direction. It's forward and backward directions. That means when the piston moves in forward direction, automatically the sphere will be moving in forward direction. When the piston moves in reverse direction, automatically the sphere will be moving in reverse direction. So obviously it is used for moving the sphere in to and fro directions. That is very, very essential for controlling the quantity of water that is entering the turbine according to the load acting on the turbine. So this item, this is referred to as a servometer. So we have talked about this oil sump. This reservoir is arranged for storing oil. So it is arranged. So it's very, very essential. High pressure oil is very, very essential for operating the servometer. So therefore, oil is stored in this reservoir. So it is used for supplying oil into the servometer, and also it will be useful for receiving the entire quantity of oil that is coming out of the servometer. So this is the main purpose of this oil sump, oil reservoir, which is also referred to as oil sump. Friends, we have discussed about the necessity and arrangement of oil pump. So generally gear pump is used in this governing arrangement. So it will be taking low pressure oil from the reservoir and it will be raising the pressure energy of oil. Ultimately, it will be supplying high pressure oil into the first cylinder and of course finally into the second cylinder. So pumping of oil is very essential. High pressure oil very essential for operating the servo meter. So a gear pump, a hydraulic pump, is used for raising the pressure energy of oil and also for supplying high pressure oil into the first cylinder. So friends, we have come to the last slide. So it's called as, this piping system. So used for information regarding piping system. So suction pipe for conveying the oil from the reservoir into the hydraulic pump. Delivery pipe for conveying oil, high pressure oil. Suction pipe for conveying low pressure oil from the reservoir into the hydraulic pump. Delivery pipe for conveying oil uh, into the from the hydraulic pump into the first cylinder. And apart from that, we have to use other pipelines or some more pipelines also. Two pipelines for connecting both the sides of both the cylinders, and also two more pipes for connecting both the sides of the first cylinder with the oil reservoir. So totally 6 pipelines are needed for operating the system. So all these pipelines for operating the governing arrangement. So all these pipelines put together, it is referred to as a piping system. So working of the arrangement, the details of working given in this particular slide, and when the load on the turbine decreases, the speed of the turbine and the governor increases, and hence the governor shaft will be moving in upward direction. So when the shaft moves in upward direction, the lever will be pushing that means one end of the lever moves in upward direction, right end of the lever moves in downward direction. So therefore it will be pushing the first piston in downward direction. Therefore the first cylinder will be supplying oil for moving the second piston in forward direction. When the second piston moves in forward direction, the sphere will also move in forward direction. Less quantity of water will be entering the turbine. Therefore, the speed of the turbine will be falling back to the normal value. So this is about the working of the arrangement when the load on the turbine decreases to a lower value. And similarly, when the load on the turbine increases, all the operations will be taking place in reverse direction. So therefore, the sphere will be also moving in reverse direction. And ultimately, it will be supplying more quantity of water onto the turbine. So therefore, the speed of the turbine will be rising and it will be brought back to the normal value. So friends, this is the arrangement of a governor used for controlling the operation of the Pelton turbine. So I thank one and all. We are closing the session now, and I thank one and all for joining the session. So thank you so much. Thank you all.